What is it about the old Democratic Party you don't like, and how would you change it in
Well,
quickly?
yeah, it's stale. I mean, it has no solutions for people that are struggling to make ends meet. It has no solutions for college students or people that graduated with degrees that do not lead to jobs but are stuck with debt. Have no solutions for us national security-wise. They have no strategic vision of America's role in the world. And they're stuck in the 20th century. I mean, their ideas are just to recycle things that we did 25 years ago in the hopes that they finally work, and they won't. In fact, they're disastrous.
Who was that man holding that microphone? Well, that looked a whole lot like Roger Simon to me, co-founder of PJ Media, award-winning novelist, and of course a participant in PJ Media's Diary of a Mad Voter series. Hello, Roger.
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah,
You know what? You know what Rubio forgot there. He forgot one of my favorite songs. She's a 20th Century Fox.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, and I didn't know you could hold a microphone so well. That's very impressive. Now, you met all these guys down in Boone, Iowa, and you spoke to a lot of the candidates. But let's focus on Rubio here for a second, because what they're doing here to him at the New York Times, I think, is going to backfire on them.
Oh, it already has. You know what? I called it in the Mad Voter site. They developed an early case of Rubio derangement syndrome. you remember Bush derangement?
Hey, Bush derangement syndrome is still the most incurable disease there is out there.
It's way up there in the DSM-4 or 5 or whatever. But what's interesting about it is it took several years of the Bush administration before it really got going. Whereas Rubio derangement syndrome has appeared a year and a half before the election.
All right, first they tell us that Rubio and his wife got like 17 moving violations in the last 15 years. Turns out he had 3 of them. Now, the latest revelation is that he doesn't have a lot of money. I mean, yeah. So how is that if he had a lot of money, like Romney, they'd be killing him for that.
Of course. And the other thing about not having a lot of money is maybe he wouldn't get invited to the Clintons' house for dinner. Because, I mean, if you want to go to their house in Chappaquiddick for dinner, you better have a lot of bucks.
But doesn't this show that the left is deathly afraid of Marco Rubio?
So it would seem. Also shows they're kind of dumb. Especially the New York Times division there. I mean, that's supposed to be Smart Squad, but I got my questions about that.
And I keep hearing that, you know, it's not the fact that he doesn't have a lot of money. It's the fact that he made a bad decision because he bought a boat for 80 grand. You know what? Barack Obama, they bought a house, if you recall, before he was president. I think $1.2 million that he got this sweetheart deal on from a guy, if my memory serves me correct, a guy who was in jail or going to jail.
Right.
And nobody brought that up when he was running for president, at least on the left.
No, they're worrying about Rubio's so-called luxury speedboat. I mean, I thought that was really funny because, you know, 80 grand can't buy you a luxury anything on the water. I mean, you started out at 8 million, not 80 grand. I mean, these guys have never been to Monte Carlo, obviously, or watched the Open tennis tournament in Monte Carlo a few weeks ago. You saw all those yachts lined up there. I mean, this was a fishing boat that the family used. I mean, it's pathetic, really.
It is. All right. So you talked to you talked to about 5 or 6 of the candidates. Who impressed you? I mean, granted, it's a short conversation, but you looked them in the eye. They looked you in the eye. You were one-on-one. Who impressed you?
Well, they were all good. You know, they're good at that kind of thing. Rick Perry is a guy that I have interviewed before several times because I went down to Austin the last go-round to talk with him, and he seems like a man on a mission. He seems like he wants to make up for his boo-boo of the previous election period when he couldn't remember anything, just like the rest of it. But he seems very well prepared this time. It'd be interesting to see if he goes any place. I like a lot of them. Frankly, I like, you know, who I really like and have talked to twice now is Carly Fiorina.
She is great.
She's a smart cookie, and she's also fearless. So far, she hasn't made much impact in the polls, and she's fighting hard to get into that last that top 10 tier to be in the first
Well,
five.
that's, of course, because she's a Republican woman, which doesn't really count. If she was a Democrat woman, she'd be featured all over the place. Hey, Roger, great talking to you, sir.
Yeah.
We'll check out Diary of a Mad Voter at pjmedia.com. Up next, digital news reporter Nick Sanchez will learn all about Apple's new ventures. But first, we want your feedback. Let us know what you think of today's show and possibly the discussion we just had about Rubio in the New York Times. You can weigh in on what happened down in McKinney, Texas, the whole thing, the cop resigning, the interviews we've had so far today. We want to hear from you. So you go to newsmax.com/comments. That's newsmax.com/comments and have your voice heard.